Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Today in this video I'm going to be covering preparing your kits for painting. So the first thing you're going to want to do is wash them, and then if the paints need a primer you're going to prime them, and I'll go through all of that now. As part of the moulding process, I believe factories use oil, which can end up on the kit, and so obviously when they come out of the mould they have like this oily release agent. They do get washed by the factories because they don't come covered in oil, but I've often found that some that come do have that residue on them, and you have to remove that before you start painting. To do this, some people put their kits in the dishwasher. I personally haven't tried that because it intimidates me a little bit, but what I found works really well is getting some kind of dish soap. I think in America you have like Dawn dish soap or Fairy Liquid, that kind of thing. We have an eco one that I use, and I just cover the entire head and limbs in that and then wash it with water. After they have been washed in water and dried, I then recommend going in with isopropyl alcohol. This is the isopropyl alcohol that I use. It is industrial 99.9%. I bought this on eBay. It's not too expensive, I think around 10 or 15 pounds, and this has lasted me, well, I bought this when I first started painting, so over a year and probably 40 dolls ago. So I use this and cotton pads, and I wet the cotton pads and then go all over the kits with them. This one I've already done it too. That helps get rid of any residue that the dish soap didn't get rid of. And then you can move on to primer. Now, not all paints require primer. I personally use waterborne air dry paints, and therefore I use their clear base primer. I go through this quite quickly, so I do have a few bottles of this. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the head, you'll see here. Now, it doesn't matter what kind of vinyl you're using. It doesn't matter what kind of skin tone you're trying to achieve. You should be using primer if your paints require it. So this is a nearly empty bottle that I'm just adding this primer onto. The instructions on the primer bottle say to smooth it on with a soft sponge. So I am doing that here and just kind of roughly smoothing the entire thing over it. And then what I like to do personally is just go over and pounce, because I feel like this creates a micro texture on the vinyl, and that can help your paint to adhere a little bit better. So that's the way I like to do it. Once I have all of that covered, I will go in with a detail brush and just make sure that the primer, one, isn't pooling in particular places, you see like the lip here, but also make sure that it's actually in certain places. So for example, around the nose and in the nostrils, and you can see that nothing has gone into the ear there. So I'm going to get my new primer bottle and just pop a tiny drop on there, go in with my detail brush and make sure there is primer all the way. I will also refine this just to make sure it's not pooling, and in the other ear as well. Now, once I have primed the head, I will do exactly the same process to the limbs. So adding my primer on first and then smoothing it down, just kind of rubbing it on gently and then pouncing. And again, you want to make sure you're getting in all of those crevices. So I will be going in with my detail brush again, particularly for the feet. Sometimes it can be really hard to get paint to stick onto the hands and feet, depending on the vinyl that you're using. I found Bountiful Baby kits are actually the hardest to paint, and their hands and feet really don't take paint very well. So if you're struggling with a kit that's not taking paint, try getting a primer. You can get different primers for different paints. This one's obviously been specially formulated for the waterborne paints to work with them, but there are other ones you can get as well. And if you have queries about those, then do join some Reborn Facebook groups, particularly ones for beginner artists, and people usually have loads of recommendations for products in there because we are always trying new things in this community. So I'm going to make sure these toes are covered particularly, and I'm kind of squeezing. The primer gets kind of stuck in here, you can see. So if you squeeze it a bit, it will come out as this sponge is absorbing things. And then going back in with my detail brush, I can tell that I'm going to really struggle painting this kit. For several reasons, but at the moment the most prominent one is the fact that this kit has really small holes in the back of the legs. So you see here, I've had to shove my finger in there, and that's how I've been holding this sculpt while I've been doing that. I also usually use a mug tree, which I will show you. I usually use mug trees like this to hold all of my limbs, and the heads just stay like that. This one I have found, this head is like back heavy, so I'm having to hang it on a mug tree, and the holes in here are too small, so I've had to put them on this weird contraption here. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. Let me know what else you'd like to see. I'm planning on doing a whole tutorial series which should cover absolutely everything you need to be able to paint one of these dolls. And give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you enjoyed. See you next time.